My name is Michael Mwamunga. I live in Ontario, California, but I am from Voi in Kenya. I was born in Mombasa and went to school in Nairobi. And then I tell everybody that I'm a citizen of the world because I moved so much. I left Kenya and went to school and came back for a little bit and been traveling for my career for a long time. But very excited to be here and to be part of this discussion and part of this journey. Very excited to see where Project Trinitē takes this and all the opportunity that it will bring.
My name is Mike Bassignani, and I'm happy, as Michael just said, I'm pretty excited about this and looking forward to the conversation today.
How did you first meet with Michael?
I first met Michael actually in Madrid, Spain. We were asked for some work. So I think I flew over to Madrid to work with a company called Union Fenosa in Madrid, and met Michael there for the very first time. And what I found fascinating was I was looking forward to going over to Madrid. I knew they ate dinner really late at night, but you got to have a siesta. No siestas, right? They pick you up at 8 a.m. You'd have work till 2 p.m. They'd give you a sandwich, and then you'd work till 9. And so there was no sleep. But that's how I first met Mike in Madrid.
Wow, that's so interesting. So, Michael, from your perspective, how did that connection begin, and what did it mean to you at that time?
I've been in Madrid, I think, for less than a year, and like Mike said, it was grueling work, but we were all very excited. We were building, something new. We were building something that we thought would be really impactful. So everybody was very excited, and like Mike said, we were, all of us that came to Spain had heard of the siesta, and we're all looking very much, looking forward to that. But it didn't materialize. We heard people were taking siestas, but just not us. But despite the long hours, and it was a very exciting time. And I think the folks that came from the US, they were bringing us requirements and expertise so that they could help make our product even better. And it just struck us that the depth of knowledge and experience, and how different the US was from what we had experienced in Kenya and in other parts of the world, and that was really impactful. The first time I heard of something like Project Trinitē, it was a few years ago. I think the company is still around. They're still doing good work, but the concept was very similar. It was a self-sustaining container that offered computing capabilities, electrification through solar, and clean drinking water. And I thought that was something that was really needed. Growing up, I watched my father serve people. Spend hours under a tree talking to people. He was an MP back in the day, and he would spend hours talking to different people and hearing what their challenges were. And one thing that stuck to me was that if you can take away some or alleviate some of the basic challenges that people face, then you free them up to elevate their lives. You free them up to think of even better things, to think of ways of improving their situations. So I think that just struck me as it really made an impact on me, thinking about meeting the very basic needs of communities, so that you help them elevate their circumstances, because they don't have to think about the really basic needs. I think this makes such a big impact, and it struck me as, it strikes me as a small way. It may seem like it may seem like a small contribution, but I think it's such a foundational impact that frees up communities to do even bigger and better things. So I'm excited about this.
Mike, at what point did your initial connection with Michael grow into something deeper, such that it grew into a big trust, and also you started supporting one another?
Sure. I think, from our work in Madrid together, I went back to the United States, and the company that Michael was working for at the time, won a big piece of work in the US. And so, and we were also part of that piece of work as a consulting business. And so, my 3 or 4 weeks working with Mike and his team over there, which, by the way, we maintain lifelong relationships, and these people are from all around the world: Spain, Uruguay. In fact, I was in Uruguay not that long ago, and I reached out to one of our friends that we worked with 25 years ago, almost 30 years ago now. But Mike actually showed up in Ohio with, 10 or 15 of his work colleagues. Little did I know the Spaniards sent them over there with no money and no credit cards. And so you want to talk about resourceful people, right? We all figured it out. And then Michael and I started working together pretty much every day, 2 different firms helping a big energy client. And ironically, we bonded right then and there. There's some really funny stories about renting cars I probably won't get into today, but we worked together, and then Michael and I started talking about actually Michael's wanting to join my company at the time, and I couldn't do it because we had agreements not to poach each other's employees. So Mike was actually going to head back to Spain when this was all over, and out of the blue, his U.S. boss at the time came to me and asked me if I would do him a favor and hire Michael. And of course, it was really, I don't know, it was somewhat serendipitous, I think. But I think, but now he thinks I'm doing him a favor, and all the while I was getting the best part of that. And from there, that was probably in 2000, maybe 2000, something like that. And Mike and I have worked together now from 1999 to literally today. I was lucky enough to go to his wedding, lucky enough to see 2 of his children born, and seeing how candidly, it's enriched my life. And when I was introduced to Project Trinitē, and they talked about doing a pod like you guys are in Kenya, my only connection to Africa and Kenya in particular was Michael. So I think what a great way to celebrate our relationship.
And what's that Project Trinité's mission that resonated with you mostly?
I only heard about Project Trinitē about a year ago. A good friend of mine that lives in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and is very close to one of the founders of Project Trinitē, Matt Glenn. A friend asked me if we would go, my wife and I would go to a fundraiser event in Plymouth. And so my wife Sherry and I went, and I was, our company, Michael's company and my company that we've had for a long time, had a charitable foundation in it. And so my wife and I and our company, we decided a long time ago to take 10% of our profits and put it into a charitable organization so that our employees could dip into it and fund things that were important to them. And then we were able to do stuff ourselves. So when I was sitting there kind of listening to the stories about, and I met probably some of your colleagues in Plymouth that day. And so, watching the passion that comes from this, and candidly, using some of the wealth that we've all built in our lifetime to help others, really is, it makes work worthwhile I don't know how a better way to say it, right? But profit for its own sake is not really very interesting. So if you can take some of those profits and help others, I think Warren Buffett said it well, 90+% of anybody's success in the US is because that's where they were born. And so, knowing that and able to put money into things that help, as Michael said, make life easier so that people can focus on growth I'm all for it. So that's I only saw about Project Trinitē about a year ago, but it fit professionally and personally, it fit how we put our money, our charitable money to use.
That's a very nice reflection. So picking up on that reflection about Trinity's mission, so Michael Mwamunga, so how do you see that mission translating into real change for individuals like me and communities I live into?
The curiosity that we all have as children. I think we life catches up, and along the way, some of us lose that curiosity, and we deal with everyday challenges. But I think Project Trinitē has it is going to be a way to spur on and help people keep that curiosity just by providing resources to information, and that will, in my mind, that'll trigger great things. Just having those resources. Everybody says this. Kenyans are resourceful, super resourceful. I mean, we've built amazing things from almost nothing. I remember Jua Kali. When I left home, Jua Kali was my, and that's the it's a street industry, it's a marketplace where you buy things that are built by hand, by folks that have very, very, very few resources, but they'll make it work. So Kenyans are very resourceful, and so in my mind, just providing this resource and access to global information and I think is you just provide it and watch what happens, because I think the sky is the limit. So this mission of Project Trinitē, to provide these resources to folks like yourself who you're the future. You're the future for Kenya, and I don't even think how much you're going to do with just the access to this information. I just want to stand back and watch what emerges and what great things happen.
So Mike, from a strategic perspective, what factors influenced your decision? As you said earlier that you first met with Matt Klein for the fundraising, that's when you knew about Project Trinitē. So what factors influenced your decision alongside your wife Sherry to invest in this development of Trinitē Tech Center, which you are in now? We are inside the Trinitē Tech Center. And what long-term outcomes are you aiming to enable through the Project Trinitē, through your support about Project Trinitē?
I mean, I think for me, I think Michael said it well. I think our focus has always been on, not always, but it took us a while to get here, is empowering youth, whether it's through education or whether it's through tools, whether it's through education or tools. And in this case, tools, I think are really the catalyst to make things happen. And I can't say it better than Mike. One thing that I've been blessed with, and maybe it's adult curiosity, but I always pull on a thread. And the older I get, the more I think coincidences they're not coincidences. I think life just strings things together. And if you pull on that string, just really cool things happen. I think, as I said, meeting Michael 30 years ago, knowing us from Kenya, seeing a Kenyan wedding, albeit in Maryland, right? But seeing the traditions, you learn really fascinating things. And so, I think I've been blessed by pulling on these threads, and who knew 30 years later that we'd be talking to you or you'd be talking to us, right? I'm not even sure some of you were alive 30 years ago, right? But the point is, pull on that thread, because you just, wonderful things are all, I found wonderful things on the end of every thread I've ever pulled on. And so I think these tools will do, if you can pull on threads using these tools, meet people from all over the world, it gives you opportunities that you just didn't know existed, right? And so I think this is an interesting window to do it in. Now, I will say one other thing selfishly. One of the reasons that I invested is because I like to try to make others philanthropists. So one of my goals here too is to help Project Trinitē by identifying a good friend of mine that's been very financially successful, find his way to charity, because it has been one of the coolest things I've ever done. I think our employees do it, and they've done it for 20 years. And I think it just makes life richer, right? I think, we bought all the electricity for a school in where is it? In Cambodia. And so we buy electricity for, a school that, brings children out of abject poverty. And I think it's just wonderful. You get great feelings. So part of it is to try to make other entrepreneurs, because successful people are very competitive. So you put them in an opportunity to bid on things, and they get competitive, and then they get the bug, and then it turns out to be a better thing.
So building on that, so Michael, so what does the Trinitē Center this mean for you and your community, and especially for young people looking for opportunity like me?
This is a wonderful time to to be alive, I think. 30 years ago, or even when I was growing up, I got smitten by technology at a very young age, and I knew that I wanted to work with computers, and it was just fascinating to me. Always wanted to be in computers, and I think about it then. Computing was very local. You have a device. I think the first device I ever got access to was a friend had an old, I think they call it a ZX80, old device that allowed people to program in BASIC, and it took hours to just get it to say hello world on a screen. But today, I think the possibility of having the very top access to the very top resources and computing capabilities is tremendous. You don't need to have a lot of computing power, with you to access incredible computing resources. So I think Project Trinitē it's almost as a plug, where if you want to get plugged into the global IT movement, and with AI and all that's happening, you just need a portal. You just need a way to get onto the internet. And I think the playing field is very level. Back in the day, when it depended on, you needed a good computer, you needed a lot of money to access the best resources. But now all you need is a browser. All you need is a browser, and you have access to everything that everybody has access to. So it's a tremendous time to be getting into IT, and I think Project Trinitē just offering that plug that the young people in West Pokot can just plug into the movement of IT and everything that's happening, I think is incredible.
Oh, that's amazing. It's true that at this age, the only thing that we need is a browser. Then we have AI, you can maximize it. So Mike, you chose to honor Michael through this recognition. What made you feel that he deserved at this moment?
Look, I think there was a couple of reasons. Obviously, Michael being from Kenya, and he was always proud of the fact that he was Kenyan. And he come to the U.S. It was not an easy journey for him and his wife. I think they were married. They had to split, and one had to go to Canada for a while and re-go. And this was long before some of the currency with immigration. But for me, Michael was our technology inspiration. He was candidly the first employee we hired in a company, and every time we needed something from a technology standpoint, Mike thinks about it and he comes up with stuff that's just way more than we ever thought. And to this day, I mean, literally last week, him and I were chatting on something, and I'm thinking about a particular thing, and he just takes it and makes it 10 times better. So, I think, that using the analogy of a plug really makes a lot of sense, because it's really not the technology as much as it's the person behind the technology that has the vision to take something. And so for me, when this opportunity came up and we learned about Project Trinitē and what it was doing, the fact that it was in Kenya was, and the fact that it was technology enablement, and what Michael does with technology just seemed to me the perfect partnership for the three of us. Me, Sherry, and Michael. I think, I said, I think our companies, Mike and I have been through now 3-4 of them together, have been very successful with Mike's brain behind most of it, big chunks of it for sure. Not alone, but and for us, it was an honor to be able to do this together.
I think if I can just say one thing, I don't, I was very honored and surprised when Mike told me about this the initiative here, but I wasn't, initially I was surprised, and then it dawned on me that, why am I surprised? I mean, Mike Bass is a generous man. He's always been very generous, not only with financial resources, but with his time and with his patience. So that he heard the mission and wanted to be a part of it, doesn't surprise me in the least. I think, Project Trinitē has a great partner in Mike, not only with financial support, but with thinking and with vision. And Mike's always been someone that, talking to him, and I would encourage, if you have the opportunity, just talk to Mike. Talking to him will make you think of better ideas. I don't know I don't know what it is about you, Mike. I think you just ask really insightful questions, but I'm not surprised that this is an initiative that Mike felt moved to be part of.
To Mike and Michael, for others watching, what would you say to encourage them to support or invest into initiatives like Project Trinitē?
Well, for me, I think it's I think the ability to reinvest in a community and my vision of community is the world. I think Americans don't travel as much as they should globally. But when you travel the world, you just see how wonderful people all over the world are. And I think empowering young people, and I'm talking from ages 1 to literally 30-year-olds, right? Pick a number, right? I think empowering children to make a better world, and doing what you can to help anywhere in the world matters, because the world's a small place. Candidly, the world wasn't very small 30, 40 years ago. I mean, Mike and I, when we first met, I mean, the internet really wasn't even a real thing yet. I mean, just barely. For those that have ever gone to Disney World, you go through Epcot and they say things like, someday you'll be able to talk to somebody in real time around the world, right? And we've blown way past that. So I think trying to get people to recognize and help where help is needed is very important. And they will feel better about themselves for doing so, much better. As I said before, all the material success in the world doesn't compare to the feelings you get when you're using some of the stuff that you've been able to amass over a lifetime is way more beneficial.
Nafikiri technology ni nzuri. Technology ni chombo kizuri. Chombo ambacho kinaweza kukusaidia uendelee kuwa mwanafunzi for a lifetime, right? All I'm saying is, technology is a tool. It's a tool to help you scratch that need and to help you be a student for life. And I'm hoping that I think taking that attitude of wanting to learn for a lifetime and wanting to be better, whether it's through technology, whether it's through helping others once your basic needs have been met, I think it's the attitude that needs to be changed. So I would say, yani nikiongea Kiswahili ningesema usiangalie jambo sio kuangalia technology kuwa kama technology for itself, yani wewe tu unataka technology. Jambo ni kutaka kujipeleka mbele. Technology ni chombo utatumia cha kupeleka mbele, lakini jambo ni kutaka kujipeleka mbele, alafu kutaka kusaidia wengine. Na kama technology itakusaidia uende mbele na uweze kusaidia watu wengine, kama ni jamii lako ama kama ni marafiki zako, ni huo kutaka kusaidia wengine ndio kitu muhimu.
Thank you, Mike and Michael, for sharing your time, your insights and your story with us today. This conversation is powerful reminder of what it can happen when vision, support and action come together to create a real impact. To everyone watching and listening to us right now, thank you for being part of Project Trinitē and being with Project Trinitē. We look forward for continuing to build with us to create this more opportunity. So thank you and see you next time.